Wonder Man, Predator Badlands, and Gatsby. This is Staying In. It is the most wonderful time of the year.
All those people who say it's Christmas, no. In the bin.
Get rid. Get rid.
Easter, whatever. No thanks.
No. Halloween, bonfire night. Guy Who?
Exactly. What has he ever done?
They've got nothing on Pancake Day.
Here we go.
Can I just say, Pancake Day is a bit of a triple whammy this year. Did everyone know this?
Why is that?
So today, as of date of recording, which I know dates this because this isn't coming out until like the end of the month.
Yeah.
But it is Pancake Day. Today also might be, it varies, it might be the start of Ramadan.
Okay.
Well. And what else is it today?
I've got online the Second Battle of St Albans.
That classic holiday.
No, it's not that.
National Random Acts of Kindness Day.
No, it's not. I mean, it is that today.
I mean, it seems weird to have a specific day for that, though, doesn't it?
It's also National Café au lait Day, which, you know, for everyone listening who's doing GCSE French, you know,
I've not reached that level on Duolingo yet.
Global Tourism Resilience Day.
I think what we're finding out is it's more than just the big three.
Yeah, it's today's a special day. So whatever the third one is that I've forgotten, and I will endeavour to remember by the end of the show. Ramadan might start today.
Cool.
Certainly is Pancake Day, which means it's a big day in our household, Pancake Day. We take it very, very seriously. It is celebrated like any other national holiday. We didn't get a bank holiday, but that's all right. I'm still petitioning the government, but they're responding to me the same way that Cineworld did when I wrote a letter of complaint when I wasn't allowed to buy a child's lunchbox.
Right.
Which
and
is
how did Cineworld respond, Sam?
radio silence. I like to think I like to think they're still formulating their response. But as an update, since I wrote that letter, I have been able to buy Munchboxes independently of my 5-year-old child whilst going to the cinema. So I'm assuming their response was non-verbal and they're just letting their actions do the work.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
Yeah, the Sam clause.
So I had pancakes a couple of weekends ago just to be ahead of the curve. And
it's always
you want to get him in ahead of time in case you forget.
You're absolutely right, Dan. And I had forgotten until Sam reminded me of it just now. I went for the classic combo, banana and Nutella.
Is that the classic combo?
I think it is.
Well, hang on. You can't be a classic combo and also a new classic combo.
You're absolutely right, Dan. It used to be a bit of sugar, maybe a bit of butter.
Just a
bit.
What? Hold on.
Hang on.
Whoa, Are we making a sandwich here, or what?
Butter?
What?
Yeah.
Butter?
Little bit of butter, little bit of sugar, little bit of lemon.
Yeah.
I'm on board with the sugar. I'm very on board with the lemon. You're throwing in butter in there, and it's becoming... Other than butter in the pan is fine, because you're cooking with that. But just to put butter as a topping, no.
I mean, you say topping. Just to be clear, we're not like taking a massive slice of butter and then, slathering it on like Nutella.
It's not like that time I wrapped a double-decker in a pancake and ate it.
Yeah. Which also coincidentally was another double threat because that was the same day your arteries literally clogged up.
Oh, that's the third thing. Yes, the day I started beta blockers.
No. I remember at university, I thought, when you do these crazy things, I thought, okay, I'll make pancakes from scratch, but instead of using chicken eggs, I'll use cream eggs.
No, you didn't. No, I'm calling you on that one.
So hang on, Sam. If Nutella and banana is not a classic, and you're turning your nose up at butter, which is what the French do on their crepes.
Yeah, we're not eating crepes. It's Pancake Day.
It's Pancake Day.
But as a kid, for me, a pancake was the thin things that the French call the crepes.
Yeah,
that was the pancake for me.
This thick American pancake thing, like I love it.
No, hang on. Wait, hang on. Whoa. We're not talking American, like thick American pancakes. We're talking about flat, fill the frying pan pancakes.
Yeah,
it's a crepe.
Yeah,
it's
no,
Pancake Day,
Chris,
it's not crepe day.
Chris. The 2nd of February is French Crepe Day. Okay.
Oh,
This is the 17th of February. This is Pancake Day.
incredible. Is there a Scotch pancake day, Sam?
I remember one pancake day at university where, and this will give you an insight into my university life, we once celebrated Pancake Day by having a 3-course pancake meal. So we had starter pancakes, main course pancakes, dessert pancake.
So prawn cocktail.
I mean, the middle one was a tuna crepe. So,
Okay, like a galette.
well, what? That's the razor, Chris.
Can you
The best man can get.
Can you imagine having that kind of time now? To go, what should we do? I don't know, I'm slightly bored. Shall we do a 3-course pancake meal? Now it's like, no, I have to take the bins out.
And it's like, no, that's awful.
But I like to think that's in the spirit of actually how the pancake was created, wasn't it? Wasn't it like monks not having enough stuff and they just cobbled some stuff together?
Something
So it
like
was
that.
actually that kind of free-thinking experimentation that Sam evidenced in his 2nd year at uni.
Yeah.
Is actually in the spirit of Pancake Day.
And now look at you.
Something that will also date this podcast is I've been playing a game from 2010. So, all the latest
great.
games. Yeah, I recently picked up Game Dev Story, which is quite famous actually at this point, I think. Have we all heard of Game Dev Story?
Yeah.
I have, yeah. But Pete, isn't that not a bit of a busman's holiday for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did think that. Like, Pete, you often talk about kind of the stress of games development. So the idea of you taking a break from your working day to kind of relax at home, put your feet up, chill, have a nice cup of tea perhaps, and just, drift off and just enjoy the comfort of being at home. And what do? Let's play a game about game development.
Yeah, I mean...
It's like an airline pilot playing Flight Simulator when they get home.
Well, I mean, lots of people do, right? Like, lots of people play Euro Truck Simulator who actually are truckers. Like, when I interviewed Pavel back in the day, who was, I think he was running or was like a big part of SCS software, which is basically the Euro Truck people. He actually said to me that, loads of people who are truckers do actually play Euro Truck Simulator, which is always surprised me. And I never thought that would be the case for me. But I'm playing Game Dev Story. And game dev it can be really stressful at times. And so Game Dev Story doesn't have as much of that stress. It doesn't have the the interpersonal conflicts of like making commercial art and stuff like that. But it does have things like having to make money and having to understand what a customer might want from a product and the genres that do well and little things like that. And I will say, like, this isn't a massively complicated game. Like, I definitely don't want to over-egg the pancake on this one. But ultimately, this is a straightforward mobile. I think it's kind of I would call it like a management light game. Like, a lot of people, I think, buy Kairosoft games and they think that they're going to be these really complex SimCity-esque kind of mechanically deep games, and some of the later ones, more recent ones, have been more complex. But Game Dev Story, which was, I believe, the first game by Kairosoft, certainly the first mobile game, the pixel art is incredible, and that looks really detailed. It makes you think, oh, this is going to be like SimCity 2000 or something. But actually, it's a game about it's not massively different than like a clicker. Have you ever played like clicker games or like procedural games like that? Like Cookie Clicker, it's not massively different. Like, you're not doing any clicking, but really you're just trying to see bars go up. You're making decisions to see bar go up, right? And bar go up is like, you have different stats when you're developing these games that you choose. So you first have to choose what platform you're going to develop for. And they're all fun little spins on platforms that don't really exist, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that this is really a Sega Saturn or, an Xbox.
It's a Jaeger Jupiter.
Oh, I mean, it is literally it is literally called the Senga Uranus. which is
incredible.
Which
How
is
long
great.
do you think it took them to come up with that?
Oh, I mean, that felt to me like by Jove, lads, we've done it. Sort of.
That's a group of people that wanted to get home early that day.
Yeah. And so you do that, and basically you choose, are you going to go for a particular kind of like quality? Are you going to really push for speed? And then you choose what kind of genre and what kind of theme that you're going to go with. So the genre might be, let's say, sort of multiplayer RPG, and then the genre might be fantasy, right? But that genre can also be like robots or ogres.
Is this game like kind of like wish fulfillment? Is it a bit of a fantasy in terms of, right, here you are in charge of a game studio, right? What game have you always wanted to produce?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I think all the Kairosoft games are kind of like that. I think the fantasy is like, I'm a game developer, or I run a ski resort, or I run a golf course. So I'm going to run them in the way that I think I should run them. And they're really simple, straightforward things that you're doing, right? So when you choose, I'm going to make a tabletop video game that's based on Reversey, you can come up with a title for it and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're kind of like the studio head, right? You're kind of setting the general direction. You're not saying, and this is the design of the game, and you're not doing any of those sorts of things. You're basically understanding, like, what is the market like, and is this combination any good? All right, let's go for it. You're hiring and firing staff. You're making sure those staff are trained up so that they've got better stats. As you're building the game out, those stats then affect the like points that are in things like creativity, fun, graphics, and audio. So we're not, and then if they make mistakes during development, a number goes up, which is bugs, which I think is quite fun. And yeah, you're going through that and helping them make decisions about, like, hey, boss, like, can we spend extra money to make the graphics over here much, much better? And that is definitely a simplification of something that I do in my job, right? It is like somebody comes to you and says, can we have more money because we'd like to make this area of the game better? And you have to make decisions around that kind of stuff. But you're not making like super informed decisions. You're just like, do we have the money? Is it worth taking the chance to spend the money, and maybe we'll make the graphics better on level 3 or whatever. And that's kind of like the core of the idea of the game. And then as those numbers go up, you get to the end of the thing, you then have to do all the bug squishing, and then you release the game, and then you see how the game performs in the market. And if you've chosen to do advertising or go to something called Game Decks, which is basically E3, and have a booth and all that sort of stuff, you build up more of an audience, and you have different kind of audience segments and that kind of thing as that goes up. And then the idea is you get better and better and better and more and more and more. And it's essentially building an engine to make video games.
Question I wanted to ask is, you said that it's not necessarily an overly complicated game.
No.
Does that mean that if say, for example, all 4 of us were to play this separately and have our own rival studios with our own ways of conducting management, philosophically speaking, and things like that, would we end up with 4 very different outcomes, or is it just roughly similar? It's just that they like Sam more because they get bonuses and stuff and donuts and things.
I mean, it's not even as complicated as, like, you give the staff donuts or anything. It's more a case of like, oh, we got to the point where, I decided to level up this character because it would be really useful to increase a number that would increase another number somewhere else. And you'd have a very similar experience, I think. You'd end up with different kinds of games and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, it's all a chase to a high score of essentially how much capital do you end up with, but within basically 20 years of development. And then you can keep playing beyond that. But basically it gets to that 20-year mark, and then that's your high score, and you can start again, and there's like a new game plus where you can take some of the learnings that you've got and then try it out in different ways. But at the end of the day, it's number go up, and that is exciting. It's a 2010 mobile game, which, I'm pretty confident this game didn't just come out on smartphones. I'm pretty sure this actually came out on non-smartphone devices.
Yeah, I was just having a look, and it came out in 2010 on kind of the mobile devices. And then basically between 2018 and 2023, it appeared on all the big consoles: your Switch, your PlayStation, your Steam, your Xbox, all that stuff. It'd be interesting to. I'm guessing you played this as a mobile game.
Yeah. Are you hammering the MCON on this?
Yeah.
So to
no.
speak.
I don't even. I actually think playing it with a controller would be bad, and I think if you're going to enjoy
Money well spent.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
But
I
it's
think that's-
see-through, Sam.
Oh,
it is. To be fair, it's see-through. I think it would be bad because basically there aren't enough buttons to like on in the game itself to be able to do like. It's so straightforward that I think actually adding a controller would make it worse because it would get you to what you want to do slower. I've not played it on any of the consoles and stuff. I wouldn't necessarily say that it is the greatest fit there. I think PC is maybe okay, but honestly, like mobile is where this is at because it's just so drop in, drop out. You don't need to worry too much about where you are within your sort of business, the life of your business. It's just like, can you continue to make number go up? And it's, yeah.
I'm going to tent my fingers here because I want you to I want you to understand that this question comes from a place of seriousness and not jest.
Okay. Finger tenter.
I think you might be thinking the same thing I was thinking of.
Yeah, we're all thinking it. You say it, Sam.
Are we really? Okay, so but I'm my fingers are tented because I want you to know that I'm serious.
Yeah.
So considering that this game holds a mirror up to your own job, has there been any moment during the playing of this game? Serious tenting. Serious.
Everyone's
not
nodding.
tenting. No, serious.
Everyone's
finger tenting. Finger tenting. Serious finger tenting.
Yep.
Has there been any moment during playing this game where you have felt that, maybe I could do that in my job?
Yeah, that's exactly the question I was going to ask.
Because the way you were talking, Pete, it sounded like you were getting really excited about the possibility of doing some kind of time and motion study.
I was thinking he has definitely moved people's desks towards the door.
And they have to go home, and then immediately productivity goes down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if we put locks on all the toilets.
Yeah, there are definitely bits where, like any reflection of that, you do start to think like, do I think like this? Like when you play things like SimCity or The Sims or things like that, you do sometimes think, am I a monster?
So, I have an app on my phone called Dailyo, where every day, and I've done it for the last 3,000 days or so.
Wow.
I log what happened that day, and there's little categories I do, like, going to work, hanging out with friends, seeing something at the cinema, whether it rained, and you can kind of create your own categories and stuff. And I write down very briefly what I did. So I'm looking at an entry here from July the 6th, 2020.
Okay.
Do you remember that day?
It was a Monday.
It was a Monday. You're absolutely right, Sam.
I was at work.
Yeah.
That's all I can tell you. That's all that's in my calendar.
Okay.
I know what it is.
Pete knows what it is.
I know what it is.
He knows what it is. He knows what it is.
I can barely remember last week. I have no idea what it is.
Dan, you weren't involved, but you were. But history will never know.
Yeah. The unsung hero. History is full of these unsung heroes. Daniel Frost is one of them this day.
July the 6th.
This was epic what we did. So much so that I had to put it in my Dailyo entry for that day.
Oh my word.
Okay, I've got on it here. It says, I watched some of Red Dwarf Season 7, an episode of Midsummer Murders. I got a box of Hello Fresh that arrived.
Nice.
And Ghost Recon Wildlands with the lads where we beat the Predator.
Yes.
The
I
greatest.
remember.
Alas.
Right, I'm going back retrospectively and putting that in the calendar. Beat the Predator.
Man, what a day that was.
It was a hell of a day.
We managed to... So, if for those not au fait with this, there is a very crappy tie-in, Ubisoft's Tom Clancy game Wildlands, which is a strong 7 out of 10 multiplayer game. And the tie-in is with Predator, and it's a really badly constructed mission. But you do get an unlockable at the end of it.
Yes.
And we did it.
Which we all got.
Which we all got.
Yep.
Except,
No,
except Dan.
not all of us.
Yeah, Dan didn't get it.
And what makes it even more bitter, Dan, is that you can no longer play that Predator mode. They pulled it in 2020.
Really?
Yeah. So you can't go and play that.
I'm trying to think. Maybe I was part of this, but I just didn't get.
You tried.
Your character died just before we completed it. And as you were respawning...
It delivered.
As is my life.
Yeah. you technically did complete it, but the game just did not log that, so you didn't get the collectible.
Man.
I just remember being in the jungle, watching the predator, jumping from tree to tree, moving around. We had to try and distract it because it was just trying to avoid its kind of triangular laser sight.
Yep.
And you've got the Alan Silvestri score in the background, which is from the film that it's based on, the 1987 classic Predator, which I adore as a film, just because it's so simple, it's almost elegant, but it is so steroid-filled and hyper-masculine that it almost feels laughable at the same time. And I watched over the weekend Predator Badlands, which dropped on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So this is is it a follow-up? But it's the same director as the person who...
Dan Trachtenberg. It is not a follow-up. It's in the Predator universe, Sam, but it's not a direct sequel to Prey or Predator Killer of Killers.
Okay, so I've seen Prey. We watched Prey together, didn't we?
We did, Sam.
Was that in Dalio?
Which is a really good film. That is in Dalio, yes.
Okay. I've always been a big fan of Predator. Great character, great creation. First film is fantastic. Second film, let's just not talk about it. And then every sort of appearance since then has been kind of the law of diminishing returns, really.
Yes, very much so. But
Prey actually felt like the first time in a long time that they kind of got, I hate to kind of use this turn of phrase, but it feels like the right way to do it is they kind of got Predator right.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because it was essentially almost a copy and paste of the original, where you've got, instead of it being Arnold Schwarzenegger, you've got this young woman who's a member of a Comanche tribe set in 1719. So it's not 1987. This isn't post-Vietnam War. This is a very different time entirely, but it has those similar beats, but does it in a very interesting way.
With Prey, was it, you say it were kind of going back towards the first one, were they going back to that whole idea of less is more? Because obviously I think with the monster movies, like your Predator, like Alien, that kind of thing, often the first one is the best because you don't see the monster. This is this unseen force that the more films you make, you have to then start showing more and more, and then you lose the mystique of that, which is why I think kind of I'm actually really interested to hear what you say about Predator Badlands, because from what I see of Predator Badlands, there is no mystique because he's the main character.
Yeah.
So did Prey go back to that in terms of putting the Predator more in the shadows again?
Yes, very much so. The Predator is the boogeyman, essentially, like it is in the original film, and to a degree in Predator 2. But what Dan Trachtenberg has done, who directed Prey, who also directed Predator Killer of Killers, which is the animated film which I've started watching, which is incredible, and did Predator Badlands, which came out last year. Each film or each story he's telling is presenting a different twist on that. So the Predator of 1987 is not the same Predator you see in these other films. And what he's trying to do is to, in an interesting way, hint at different parts of the lore. And what I mean is he's not trying to humanize the Predator at all by any stretch of the imagination, but it's trying to work with this idea of an alien race or an alien culture whose entire job is about being the killer of killers, essentially, and their species is the Oucher. And all they do to earn their place in their respective clan is they basically find a really difficult prey and they bring it home as a trophy, essentially. And in Predator Badlands, as you alluded to, Dan, rather than the Predator that's at the side in their stealth suit as the bogeyman, what you have is the Predator who is the main character. But they're not the perfect killing machine that you've seen in the previous Predator stories. This is essentially, as is described in the film, the runt of their clan, who their father is trying to essentially kill because they're not worth a place here. To try and prove themselves, they say, I'm going to take on the thing that not even my dad could face. I'm going to go to this planet that is essentially a hostile world and to try and earn my keep there.
This sounds like the setup for a comedy. This sounds
completely.
Like the gang, like the Godfather's like geeky son who's not part of the family wants to go out and prove himself to his father, and chaos and hilarity ensues.
But the thing is, like, he is very good. Like, it's not like he's just shorter than the rest of his clan. He's got like one of his fangs is missing. he's extremely angry. And one thing I must impress, because there'll be people listening to this who'll be thinking, and there was a lot of like, it was quite polarizing, some of the reactions online, because as you were saying, Dan, some people were like, oh well, it's kind of undermining the role of the Predator in the first film. I don't think it does personally, because the action in this film is incredible. Like the choreography of this and Prey and Killer of Killers is amazing. It's really inventive. It is really cool, and it is quite brutal. And I think that's more to do with the fact that the way they've been able to get away with their relatively low rating is because there are no humans in this. So the threats themselves aren't human. So there are humanoid figures getting their heads ripped off, say, for example, but because they're not living, breathing, fleshy organisms with red blood, it's kind of fine. In a strange way. But the thing that I really liked about Prey and Killer of Killers and Badlands is there's this elegant symmetry to its storytelling, which is almost to a fault, really, because it's like those things you do as a child where you take a piece of paper, you fold it in half, and then you paint one half of it, and then while the paint is still wet, you fold it over, then you open it up, and you go from left to right, and you're kind of moving through these different palettes, and then you're seeing them again, but in reverse order. Mm-hmm. And there's this kind of elegant symmetry to that, where you get these really lovely seeded callbacks which just come back. When I say callbacks, I'm not talking about like fan service to other films. I'm talking about within the narrative you are seeing here. So it feels like really meticulously constructed. And I think that helps also the fact that the films aren't overly long that he does. They're very lean and mean, and they get to the point. But it is really satisfying when you go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's good, that's cool, that's really cool. But Demetrius Schuster Kolamantangi, apologies if I've mispronounced your name there, is absolutely excellent. They hold this performance, but they team up. You mentioned a comedy, Dan, with Elle Fanning, who is basically this synth that they find, who's missing their legs, and they strap them on their back like a rucksack, and they refer to them as a tool. That's the way they can justify teaming up with this person, by calling them a tool, almost like, you know, a calculator. And they know about the planet that has killed tons of this person's race, and they go on this trip together to try and find this mythical creature for him to get a trophy.
That's sort of central issue, isn't it, that Predator always comes up against, right? Is how you bring in the human element, because ideally, and it's the same thing with Aliens, is that if you're making an Aliens or a Predator film, you want the audience to both fear and like the creature, and you also want the audience to be rooting for the humans within the story. And that's where always Aliens and Predator films get it wrong. It's a massive challenge. So what they do is either write two-dimensional humans that you don't care about and just make it a monster movie, or the characters basically dilute the threat and the thrill of the monsters by, let's team up with them, or let's get to know them, let's sit down and have a cup of tea. And I think that's where Prey worked really well, because there was still a threat there, but you still got to enjoy the Predator doing Predator things.
Yeah.
But there was still a relationship there with a human which had a complex character. And it sounds the same with this, Kris, in terms of actually the smart thing to do is not to have a human in it at all.
Yep. And
let's just focus on the Predator, and let's not deal with that equation just by taking it somewhere else entirely and putting it with a synthetic.
Yeah, the only human in this is us, the audience. So yes. That mystique for the humans in this world, they never see this side of the Predator. And I think it helps also where you've got such a hostile planet, which is so inventive, which really helps with the fight choreography. There's a bit at the beginning where the Predator lands on this planet, barely. And there's a bit of a bait and switch thing, because there's this really cool moment where they're going through all their gear. So there's like, okay, the grenades. Let's look at the laser bow. Yeah, this is good. Yeah, cool. And then they walk away because they hear a sound, and they look back, and all their gear has just been nicked by this monster, and that's it. All they've got is a sword. And that's it. And
that's great.
Like, there's a sequence where they walk down to a stream and they pick up a grub. And they go, oh, is this going to be food? And then suddenly the bug starts to glow and they just throw it away and then it just explodes like a grenade. And thinking, oh my gosh, okay, this planet is really out to get me. But it's a really beautiful looking planet, and you get this lovely mix, I think, of fantasy and sci-fi in this. Like, genuinely, and I can understand why Dan Trachtenberg is desperate for there to be a really good Predator video game out there, because this does generally feel like a video game I would love to play.
Chinese New Year. I'd remember.
Well done, mate.
Okay, there you go. There's number
Three things today. Chinese New Year, possibly the start of Ramadan, Pancake Day.
Duck pancakes.
Absolutely. Starter.
Yeah. Was that part of your free course, Sam?
I can't remember what the starter was, actually. I remember the tuna crepes, and I remember that I can't remember what the starter was. It might have been like a ham roll. Very briefly, I'd like to mention a board game that Kris and I played the other day. We've spoken about this before, about how this year really feels like the return of the two-player game. We've already spoken quite a few on the show recently, but Kris and I met up to have a bit of a two-player extravaganza.
Whoa. Yeah, we certainly
the other
did.
day. We didn't play. We had it on the list, but didn't play. Battle of Hoth, Battle for Hoth. Which one is it? The one that's Memoir 44, but now it's Star Wars and it's on Hoth and there's AT-ATs and it's actually really, really super cool. And they've actually made a memoir game that I think I'm going to get to the table a lot more. What else do we play, Kris? We played
Duel for Cardia,
which we spoke about last time on the pod. Everything Kris says, bang on the money. That game is super cool and super cheap and really surprising how clever that is. It reminds me very much of a button shy game in that respect.
Yeah, very much so.
And then we also played Gatsby, which is the brand new game by Bruno Cathala. Well, he's teamed up with someone. It's a bit like Predator Badlands. He's teamed up with someone, Ludovic Maublanc, to make Gatsby. Now, Bruno Cathala is one of those designers. We saw him in Essen. You probably don't remember. But we did see him in Essen when we went peak, because he was there.
What was he up to?
Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth.
Oh yeah,
That's him. Seven Wonders Duel.
It's one of my favourites. Seven Wonders Duel. Love that game.
Great two-player game.
Sea Salt and Paper, Cyclades, Splendor Duel, specifically King Domino, Sobek for 2 players. I could go on. Raptor. He is Trek 12. He is prolific. But his new one is a game that there is something about Gatsby, right? Which I don't know if you've read the book or when you last read it.
Yep.
But the book is a tragedy, right?
Yeah.
A takedown, a sort of dismantling of the American dream, right? It's a tragic modern American novel, right?
That and like the golden era, like it's a takedown of the people in the golden era, right? Like young people who had they were living.
It's
life
like the influencers
others.
of the 1920s.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, basically people who were hurting others and not really caring.
Yeah, and I admit that when we got sent this game, thank you very much to Hackette sending this to us for review, that I was a bit hesitant, because I think that turning Gatsby into a game sort of robs it a bit of its virtue, right?
Sure.
Because there is something about that. There is a telling of that tale that I feel like if Fitzy was still around, he'd feel like making it a competitive experience where quote unquote someone wins is kind of eroding a bit what his novel was attempting to do.
Sure, yeah.
But I'm not going to say entirely that that's not the case with Gatsby, and I think that it doesn't quite square that circle for me, but then that's me, and I think your mileage might vary in terms of how close you want it to be bearing for the literature, because there's certain things about using the Gatsby theme that definitely works in your favour. It looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The ability to create tension between 2 characters is exceptionally strong. The art of influence, which is kind of the main sort of thread that goes through this game, is exceptionally strong. And the idea that you are competing for influence and control over a board state, but that is in a way which is sort of not directly competitive and therefore not kind of warlike, or you're not doing it through like sort of violent aggression.
Like, that's close to fiction. There's a lot of politicking and social mores not being observed, and that gives you less standing, and therefore, you are less winning the game of, being alive in the 1920s.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's something which I like about that in terms of the ambition of the game, is that it's creating this competitive environment, but not doing so in an aggressive...
That's cool.
In an aggressive way. It very much is passive aggressive in its styling, which really leans into the theme. So how Gatsby works is one player is Dorothy Williams, the other player plays James Miller, and you are competing for the attentions of the GG. He's there in the middle of the box looking down on top of his walkway as you're trying to basically catch his eye and get into bed with him. I don't really quite know what they're trying to do, but who knows. So what you have on the board is you have 3 areas of influence where you can sway the eye of Gatsby. You have the cabaret, which acts like a bit of a... We sort of talked about it, didn't we, Kris? Like it's sort of like a dance.
Oh, yeah.
Around a board.
I love that bit. Yeah.
You have the finance center, which is basically a skyscraper in the middle of the board, which you're competing to climb the fastest. And then you have the races, the horses, where you are using your influence to bet on a set of races, and the better and the more influence you have in those races, the more chance you have to sort of kind of catch the eye of Gatsby. But really, you're not catching the eye of Gatsby. You're kind of doing it in an indirect way, because at each of these 3 points, if you reach certain markers, if you control certain areas, if you have certain sway or presence in a part, you actually attract people to you. And that's how you win the game. If you attract people to you that all match the same suit, and you get 3 of them, you win. If you get 5 of them that are all of different suits, then you win. Gatsby's going to go, oh, that's impressive. I'm going to go be their mate.
Yep.
And
that's how he'd say it.
Yep.
That's how he says it.
Yeah. It's like Fitzy's in the room, isn't it? It's incredible.
It is. Gatsby 2. And as I said, I kind of want to try and keep this a little bit brief, because I think that really what surprised me is just actually how surprised I was about how good a game this is, how competitive it feels, how it really does feel like you are expending influence, of that feeling like as players, and I guess it feeds into that sort of childish, quite puerile act of like jealousy of, you can see one player doing something by over one side of the board, and then you're like, oh, I'd quite like to, they're over by the cabaret and they're putting some things, I'd quite like to go and do that, but I can't this turn because they've gone there. Right, I'm going to go to the horses and put some bets on there, and maybe I can do some stuff. And then suddenly I'm getting more sway in the horses, which means that the other player, they're doing really well in the horses. But I can't go there right now because he's been there. And there's also these little things that it does in terms of, like, on the finance track, if you are below the player that you're playing against, if you decide that you want to go up on the finance track, your turn, you got 2 spaces instead of 1 space. And there's areas of effect where if you put your token down on it, you get to move tokens from across the board from a place to place, changing the sway of influence there. And I don't know how you felt about it, Kris, in sort of reflection, but I really like this as a very low complexity, short, but yet feels very, very tensely competitive to play a game.
Oh, very much so. I think you can tell you're dealing with a very, very good designer team here, simply because the analysis paralysis is there, but it's never too much. The choices are there, but they're never too much. And there's a world in which this game could have been overly complicated. They could have had more than these 3 areas of the board that they wanted to make a proper Euro experience with cards using quotes from the book, say, for example, where all the characters from that novel make an appearance and all the different landscapes and places, that all the settings of that novel make an appearance, but they don't. But it's not so overly abstract that you don't feel like you are going to the races, or that you are climbing up the social ladder, or that you are at this cabaret trying to cut a path across this floor of people at all. When I was playing it, I thought this is a game that Dan would be really good at. He has that brain, which I don't have, even though it was a close game in the end, actually, Sam.
It was, yeah.
Where for me, that sense of petulance and competitiveness that Sam spoke about, I love. And Sam's the only one who can bring this out of me, really, where even though strategically this is not a good thing for me to be doing right now, I want to do it because it means that he doesn't do it.
Yep.
Even though he's probably going to walk away with this. As long as I can claim this third of the board and feel really good about myself that I have monopolised this dance floor where this soiree is happening, I will feel good walking away from this.
All right.
And each of the third has its own little puzzle, but you don't get overly precious about it or claustrophobic thinking, oh, I'm painting into a corner here, because as Sam says, there's a mechanic that allows you to swap things round. And there is a way in which you can change certain things. If I go here, that means I can do this on this board, and that means I can do this here. And the game's over and done in, 45 minutes, Sam, is that?
Less than that. Less than 30.
Yeah, 30 minutes. Yeah, you're not really wafting, you're not doing a deep dive. This is not for Fitzgerald aficionados. Equally, also, you're not playing chess. It's not overly abstract. It's not overly light. It's not too difficult. It's a perfectly pitched game, I think, where you've got that sumptuous Art Deco art. And I was incredibly surprised by this. I would never have ever bought a great Gatsby board game, because that has a whole set of connotations attached to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hurt my back the other day and I was in bed. I couldn't move, so I watched every single episode of Wonder Man back to back, and I did not stop.
Oh, back to back is
good choice of words.
Back to back on your back.
Was it really that bad, Sam?
What, Wonder Man or the back?
Your back is on top of itself, back to back.
Back to back. And maybe that's what was wrong with it. The concertina.
Gosh, your back's okay though.
Oh yeah, it's fine now. I can sit up now.
Yeah. What's Wonder Man? Like, I know Wonder Woman.
Because I was actually going to suggest this to you, Pete, because I've watched this as well, and I know you've recently come off the back of a mammoth watching of Cheers. So kind of, I wasn't sure like if you decided on your next gargantuan binge session, but if you hadn't, then I was going to recommend this as something maybe as like a palate cleanser to kind of fill the gap. Wonder Man's the new series from Marvel on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So it's an 8-part series created by Destin Daniel Cretton, who is the director of Shang-Chi, is the director of the new Spider-Man film, Brand New Day, and also one of the producers of Hawkeye, Andrew Guest, as well. They're the kind of the creators of it. Interestingly, this is actually falls under the banner of what they're calling Marvel Spotlight, which was something they introduced, I think, about 2 years ago. There's only been one other show that's been part of this. So about 2 years ago, they introduced this very under the radar, wasn't like a big launch or anything. And it was launched with the series Echo, which I actually didn't see. Echo was like a spin-off from Hawkeye, kind of a spin-off of Hawkeye and of Daredevil, because it kind of revolves around the Kingpin character as well. But the Marvel Spotlight, kind of named after like an old anthology series, which was known for kind of introducing maybe lesser known characters before they had a proper run thing. People like Ghost Rider and stuff like that, they were kind of part of that. I did a bit of research to figure out what, when I watched Wonder Man and this banner came up, I was like, what is this? So I did a bit of research, and Brad Winderbaum, who's the head of streaming at Marvel, talked about Spotlight, and I'll give you the quote. He said, "The Spotlight branding represents an opportunity for people who are more casual fans, who might not know what happened in the last Avengers movie, to just show up and kind of enjoy it on its own terms." And also talked about it as being a platform to bring more grounded, character-driven stories to the screen. And all of this
please.
sounds great.
This sounds
and if
great.
anything, this is what Marvel should have been doing with their TV shows ever since they started launching them.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they just tended to be something that overwhelmed you. So Wonder Man is the new film off the block for this. Only the second one that's come out for this, and it's I think like the 19th TV show on Disney Plus. Like when you actually look at how much stuff that's come out, I actually did the math on this. This is the 33rd release since Endgame. That is a busy 7 years. That really is a busy 7 years since Endgame. There have been 33 releases of some kind. I mean, this includes some of the animated stuff as well. So it's not just necessarily all the live action stuff, but still, like within the Marvel,
that's too much.
Kind of, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that's too much, Kevin.
Yeah,
that's almost, considering we're at movie 35 or 36.
Well, I checked because obviously the TV shows only started after Endgame, because that was when Disney Plus came in, and I had a look, and there were 23 movies up to Endgame. From the beginning up to Endgame, there were 23 movies. Since Endgame, there have been 33 things. I think there's been like 14, 15 movies, and then the same again in terms of TV output.
To be fair, though, there's been 275 episodes of Cheers.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, and they're all bangers. Thank you.
Every single one. So, yeah, as like... We're talking about a lot of content coming out of Marvel over the last few years, and I think there is a sense of there being a Marvel formula with what gets made, and like people talk about like the Marvel machine just churning out very similar products that kind of all fit that formula. But every now and again they are doing different things. Like every now and again you'll get a Black Panther, and every now and again you'll get, for all my dislike of it, you get something like Eternals, which was trying to do something different, looking different, all that stuff. I will never like it.
You're on the fence, Dan. You're on the fence.
It's always the bottom of my list, but I appreciate they were trying something new. Yes, bottom of my list, definitely.
Quantumania.
It's always good when they do try and do different stuff, and I do think that Wonder Man is one of those cases where they are trying to do something different.
Okay.
So Wonder Man is not a character I had any real knowledge of. I'm not a big comic reader. I know, again, from doing some research, I know he's gone in and out of various different comics over the years, from like the 60s, 70s onwards, parts of Avengers at times. A very similar kind of character to a Tony Stark, of like a millionaire, philanthropist, genius, all that stuff, movie star, all these different fantastical things. But what's interesting is that this show basically loses all of that. So when the character first came into the comics, I think he was a bit of a villain. I think titles being a villain imbued with ionic energy, which I don't know what that means. And even having watched the series, I still don't know what that means, because the super-powered aspect of Wonder Man is really suppressed in a good way. So the setup for the show is Simon Williams, played brilliantly by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II.
He's great.
I've not seen a lot of him. I know he was in the Aquaman film. He had a small role in the Aquaman film, and I think he was due to be a bigger role within that. He is fantastic. So he plays a struggling actor who finds out they're remaking an old 70s superhero movie called Wonder Man, which is a film he saw as a child with his father, and so he sees it as like, this is the role he was born to play. However, he also possesses some pretty undefined, for a good reason, undefined superpowers, which in this world causes a problem. In this world being kind of the MCU world, because something has happened in the past whereby people with superpowers cannot be hired within the entertainment industry. And the series does go into details to why that is. So whenever he goes to an audition, he has to sign disclaimers stating he doesn't have any superpowers. It's a thing that everyone has to do. But his superpowers tend to be triggered by feelings of stress and anxiety and things like that. And you can imagine a struggling unemployed actor has these feelings of stress and anxiety quite often. That's quite a common feeling for them to have. So the show itself, more than anything else, just follows his pursuit of this role as an actor. Obviously, being an MCU, being kind of a Marvel product, it needs to loop itself into the MCU in some way, and it does that through the character of Trevor Slattery, played by Sir Ben Kingsley, who was the Mandarin in Iron Man 3. I'd completely forgotten he was also in Shang-Chi. I'd totally forgotten that, but he's in that as well. So they kind of develop a bit of a friendship around the fact that they're both actors. They help each other. It's a really nice relationship that does develop there. Unusually, and this is the one aspect that I think I really, really liked it. So obviously we go down that Marvel route with the kind of looping into the MCU. But everything else about this really suppresses the idea of the superhero. It's really dialed down. It is a narrative character point for this character, but the focus of the show is following his acting career, basically. It's much more interested in exploring his process, him making self-tapes, him discussing kind of techniques, like the two actors talking to each other about different techniques and stuff, but also the fact of him struggling with this thing inside of him. And obviously, like when they do want to talk about the superhero aspect, like in one way they'll look at it from a point of view of how can I actually show people who I am inside as an actor? How can I access that when no one can see that? Because if they do, I'll never be hired again, and I give up all of this because I'm not allowed to be hired. And I think that is a really interesting concept to have. It's a constant struggle between him trying to suppress this part of himself alongside his pursuit of his dream here. And you might notice at no point have I really mentioned any aspect of what you'd typically find from a Marvel thing. There's no fighting. There's no real villains or anything like that. It's just about this world that he lives in. It's much more about the film industry and like the art of acting and performance. And I was just kind of blown away by it, really, that it was just something completely different from anything that I think Marvel have put out in quite a long time.
The question I want to ask Dan is that for me, the best Marvel films are the ones in which they're not just comic book films as like a singular genre, that actually they are intersecting with other subgenres, say. What are the kind of touchstones for this? Is it like kind of a buddy comedy? You mentioned Trevor Slattery, say, for example. Is it meant to be like almost like a handheld documentary style?
I think there is absolutely an element of that buddy comedy element with that. I think you infuse that with that whole idea of them constantly talking about their own personal views on acting and how they perform and like how they access certain parts of their performance. Like there are scenes where they kind of recite monologues to each other. It's like really does delve deep into that. I think also the look of it I think is really interesting. Like there is a real like the camera work. I'm not sure what cameras they're using, but there's a real texture to what you're seeing on screen. It very much feels like that old style Hollywood type. It's obviously all set in the present day, but it does feel old style Hollywood. Like the title card might sit like over a shot of a car driving down the street, and it's clearly a truck attached to the car that's filming, so they're still while everything's moving around them. That really classic kind of old fashioned movie look. And that's why it's all about movies. It's all about this whole idea, and was really fascinating.
I think that I agree with you in terms of the performances are amazing.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's something different for Marvel, but it's not something different for TV. I think it's a story that I've seen before, I've heard before. Down on his luck actor finally gets the role of a lifetime, things don't really work out, everything turns around in the end. Like it's a very formulaic, apocryphal, iterative story that I've heard a million times before. And I was watching it, and to be fair, I think I watched it in a way that it's probably not meant to be watched. Like
chronic back pain.
I've got my own opinion on binge watching TV. I think it's detrimental to the experience of watching TV. I think it just ruins any chance to really reflect and digest what you're watching. And I was just there. I think the thing that really got me, there's two things, right? There is a moment in the series where they do something exceptionally outlandish, and I, for the first time in 8 hours, sat upright and went, this is interesting. And then it immediately reversed it and went, actually, no, that's actually not happening. And I was like, oh, I wish they'd just gone with that. And I wish they'd just had the bravery just to go, right, we're going to flip this whole tale on its head and do something different. The other thing that really got to me, and I probably, again, this is a me thing, is that the whole conceit of the movie is that they have got this big comic book action movie is being made by this auteur director, like almost like a Werner Herzog style character. And it just really annoyed me that every single time Marvel have gone after getting an auteur director to direct one of their films, that director has either left due to creative differences or been forced to make a film that isn't a reflection of their skills and what they do. And for me, that was a slap in the face to all of those directors that have ever worked with Marvel in the past. Like, I just couldn't. I found that really galling in a way that they would entertain this idea of, oh, isn't it brilliant that we've got this auteur director and he has this really interesting method and he's really going to get down to the nitty gritty of who this character is and understand who they are. But yet Marvel have never had the fortitude to actually do that with any of their films to really to much of a credit. In fact, all the directors just hand over their stuff to the production team and then they cut the films. And for me, that just felt really duplicitous.
That's not enjoying a sausage because you know how it's made, right? That's not necessarily the people creating the series' fault that's the thing that's happened, right? And I get it, like I totally get it, right? Like,
but I don't. This is this is kind of what bothers me about the spotlight thing, right? It's that having the cake and eat it, right? Because it's like, yeah, we can do it, but we're not going to critique the Marvel approach because it's spotlight. It's separate to that, like it's completely
sure, yeah.
Outside of it. And I kind of feel like the spotlight thing is spotlight until it's not, until Wonder Man does really, really well, and then they want Wonder Man in all the MCU stuff, and then suddenly you have to go back and watch all the spotlight stuff. I think like the series, the people, I think Destin Daniel Cretton, I think is a really smart director. I think Shang-Chi is a brilliant film, and that brilliant again film. That's a character who's really been misserved by Marvel. And I think all the people behind it are really good, but it just doesn't go far enough. And it just doesn't do as much as I think it can with what it's got. It's got amazing actors, and I think it goes some way into talking about the process of acting, but I don't think it really delivers enough.
There is a through line of it, the fact that he's actually a bit of a pain in the arse as an actor. Like, he overthinks everything. He's on one of the first times you see him, he's on set filming for a TV show as like a guest role, but he's overthinking it so much and constantly trying to work out a backstory. And no, my character would sit here and they'd be reading this type of book. Can you go and get me this specific book? So they'd be reading it. And eventually the people are like, you know what? I'm afraid we've cut you from we've cut the character from the show. It's nothing to do with you. We've cut the character from the show. And it's because he's causing so many issues. This isn't someone who it's his first role and he gets this big thing. He's a struggling actor, and then this monolith of a role for him that means so much to him from his childhood has come up, and he just says, I have to have that role. And he has to overcome all of his insecurities and kind of go against what his brain is telling him to. And that's what kind of the Trevor Slattery character helps him do, of get out of your head in terms of trying to think through this character. Don't sit there going over every inch or bit. When you're trying to think of how to do the lines, you don't necessarily have to have an encyclopedia of a backstory. You can just feel the emotion of what's being said. And so I would push back on that idea of it's not kind of reflective of a struggling actor, because I think it is. I think the story just comes to him at a time when he is going for this major role, which means so much to him.
Happy Pancake Day.
I'm glad that we've made the focus of this episode something that happened 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Well, Sam has. Sam's the one who's done that to us.
I keep Pancake Day in my heart every day of the year.
If you have a favourite holiday, listener, that apparently isn't good enough for a bank holiday, let us know, stayinginpod@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on Instagram. We've got a Facebook as well, if you like. Well, you can obviously follow us on those things too. Instagram's the one that we like. Make sure that you're subscribed, because, for goodness sake, that's how you make sure that you're listening to us on the 1st and the 15th of every month that we put one of these out. Spotify, Kris does a great playlist that's going to have some amazing music in it. What music are we going to have on it for this episode, Kris?
Well, from Predator Badlands, you've got Sarah Schachner and Benjamin Wolfish's amazing score where they actually they used the Yautja language, I think, as part of some of the songs that were sung in it.
That's cool. If you want to see every game that we've ever talked about that happens to be on PC, then you can follow us on our Steam curator page. Make sure you do that. It's a really cool way to have our stuff integrated into Steam, so you can see like, oh, they like this thing, or oh, they didn't like this thing, or whatever. But generally, we like things. So. And you can do the same with Board Game Geek. Go to Board Game. You don't have to go anywhere. Basically, look in the description for this podcast, and you'll see all the links to all the stuff what we are talking about, and you can go and look at all those nice things.
The only thing to mention is that though we may have been speaking about Pancake Day, which was 2 weeks ago, just under 2 weeks from today, if you're listening to this on day of release, is AirCon.
Woo!
Runs from the 12th to the 15th of March. Kris and I are confirmed. We're going. To say that you want to come there to meet us is a stretch.
Yeah.
But if you are going, then Kris and I would be there, and we'd love to see you, speak to you.
Play some games.
All that kind of stuff. As usual, probably one of us will be wearing a Staying In shirt.
Probably.
If not, look on our Instagram page at Staying In to see what we look like. But yes, we will be at AirCon in a couple of weeks' time.
And I will be going to Salute on the 11th of April, which is the UK's biggest wargame convention. If you are going to that, again, let us know, stayinginpod@gmail.com, and we'll high five over a very accurate recreation of a Napoleonic battlefield.
Fab, where are you going, Dan?
I gotta go to Tesco. I got to do the Friday Big Shop.
Yeah. So if you're at Tesco
in 2 weeks' time,
in 2 weeks' time, see Dan doing his big shop.
Yep.
Then take a picture and
take care.